Hi, I'm Elizabeth Noyce, and you're listening to Supergirl Radio.
I think the CW are just trying to win the time slot war with Supergirl Radio.
Supergirl Radio is going live every night of the week. How do you like it? Is becoming a human burrito a plus or a minus? I don't know. It does seem snug.
I mean, they say you are what you eat.
Oh no.
Yeah.
So I do a podcast called Supergirl Radio, and one of our segments is Lena Luthor, Boardroom or Ballroom, because
She looks like a boss in this coat.
Is Nasty Luthor like a different Luthor? It's not just Lena being mean?
No.
Helen Slater here. It's so fun to know that you're hosting a podcast called Supergirl Radio.
Welcome to Supergirl Radio, your source for all things related to the CW Supergirl TV series and the character of Kara Zor-El. My name is Rebecca Johnson.
I'm Morgan Glennon.
And for this episode of the podcast, we are live and wired with actress Izabela Vidovic to chat about her career and her time playing young Kara Danvers on Supergirl. Welcome to Supergirl Radio. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm honored.
Well, we are big fans, whether it's young Kara or Maddie on Veronica Mars season 4. We're huge fans. I even watched Wonder and bawled my eyes out because it was such a sweet movie. So we are big fans here. So I guess to get started with our chat, Izabela, will you tell us your origin story? Where are you from? How'd you get into acting? What's your origin story?
Okay. I was born in Chicago, but I was raised in LA. I moved to LA when I was like 1, so I would say I'm a native. And I kind of got started in acting by accident, thankfully. But I've always loved performing and singing. And I was at like a party one year with my family, and I got up and I sang the precocious way that I did when I was like 6, and there was a singing coach there who ended up being my singing coach for life, and he came up to my mom and said, I feel like she should be in acting. She's super outgoing. And my mom was a little hesitant because she's in the industry and she didn't know if she wanted me to be a child actor, but I auditioned for the agency and I got in, and I guess the rest is history.
That's awesome. So you have a lot of musical experience. I know you play guitar, you sing a little bit. Don't you do some songwriting as well? Is that correct?
I do. I love songwriting. Singing's a big passion of mine, and I love piano, guitar. I guess I'm just kind of musically all over the place a little bit.
Can I sell you on the ukulele?
Rebecca recently went to Hawaii.
Oh, did you learn how to play?
Yes,
She did.
I've already bought 2 of them, so it's not an obsession at all. But I highly recommend it if you want to.
I want Rebecca to like make us a jingle for the podcast. She's working up to that.
Well, I'm just recommending it because I'm a mediocre guitar player, but I'm a more than average ukulele player. So, if you want a new instrument, I think you pick it up really really quickly.
All right, sweet.
That's awesome. Well, I'm glad to hear that your musical background also influenced your acting background. So since we're talking about Supergirl stuff, how did you get into that role? Was young Kara Danvers something that was presented to you, or did you audition for it?
So I auditioned for the role of young Kara. It was kind of I always like telling the story because it's kind of a wild audition process. I went in, it was a last minute audition. So I went in, I had no time to like wash my care or really do anything. I tossed it up in a bun, which I normally try to wear it down. I tossed it up in a bun and I went in and all the girls there were blonde and blue-eyed. And I was like, But I went in and I read it, and David Rappaport, the casting director, he was like, come back in a few hours for the producers. And I was like, okay, I guess I did something right. So I came back a few hours later. My hair was, I still didn't have time to wash. So I came back a few hours later and I went in and I did the thing. And then all the producers, and they were like, oh, can you take your hair down? And like as a girl, you probably know, like taking your hair down after it's in a bun is like your worst nightmare.
It is the worst. Yeah.
There's all these weird bumps in places.
Yeah. I was like, sure. So I took it down and they were like, and they kind of looked at each other and they grabbed somebody's glasses and they're like, can you put these on? And I was like, sure. So I put them on and I just kind of smiled. And they were like, smile to the camera. And then they had me leave. And then a couple hours later, they called and they said, we're pinning you, which means like we want to reserve you for these dates. And then I got a call in the morning saying that I booked it and that I was flying to Vancouver in like that week.
Oh, wow. So it was that fast?
It was so fast. And I think it was the same thing for Olivia, who played Alex. It was like super quick turnaround, which is rare, but really exciting when that happens.
Yeah, I was wondering if they had you guys do like any kind of chemistry read with each other, because you're on screen, you guys just really read as sisters, just like the older versions of the characters.
Oh, I mean, Olivia and I met each other, and then within like 5 minutes, we're like, I think we're comfortable with each other, right? And then we got dinner that night, and then everything else just was history. We just kind of clicked right away, but no chemistry reads.
Do you remember what you were? Did you read a scene when you went into audition? Do you remember what you were doing for that audition?
Yeah, well, there were maybe 2 or 3 scenes, I think. I can't remember which ones, but I think one of the scenes actually was a scene. No, I can't remember. I was very excited. I was like, wait, and I don't have it. I don't remember. But
that it was a couple of years ago, so I can imagine that sort of leaves the brain a little bit. But that's interesting that you went in and you won the part. That's good for you.
Thank you. I know. I was so surprised. I was like, I have brown eyes and brown hair, and I was. I mean, of course, they transformed all that a little bit, but I was surprised.
So how much Supergirl had you seen before auditioning? Had you seen like full episodes? Did you watch it, or did you just see kind of clips before you went in?
Well, before I went in for the audition, I did not really see a lot of Supergirl. But when I'd seen episodes of Supergirl, but I hadn't like studied Supergirl for the audition. So I think I just kind of pulled whatever I remembered from, Melissa's performance. And I was like, oh, I remember how that went, because it was a last minute audition. But then once I booked it, I like actually saw like the full first season and really sort of like studied a lot of Melissa and how she crafted Kara already, because I wanted to honor what she had already created.
Wow, because I mean, you nailed it. It's uncanny from a viewer standpoint.
Sweet. Thank you.
Yeah, we're all the time talking about how it's almost like they actually time traveled back and got young.
Not always. I watch it and I'm like, I know it's not Melissa Benoist as a younger person, but is it?
That's so funny. I am so honored. That's a big compliment, so I'll take it.
Well, and in addition, sort of piggybacking on that previous question, did you have knowledge of Supergirl in general? Do you know when your first encounter with the character was?
Honestly, my first encounter with Supergirl was probably a little prior to the audition, just having just seen some of the episodes and having caught it on TV. And I was like, oh, Supergirl's like awesome, because I'm all about, female empowerment, and like I love Wonder Woman. And so I was like, I love Supergirl. She's great. And I think Melissa's great. So it was really with the show. It wasn't with the original film that, Helen Slater was in. It was with Melissa.
Yeah, you're in an elite group of ladies who have portrayed Kara on screen. So that's really cool that you've gotten to be around two of them. So did you actually get to meet Melissa?
I did. I got to meet Melissa once, and I've worked with Helen with the flashback episodes, which was really, really awesome, because she's the original Supergirl. So yeah, that was cool. That was very cool getting to work with both of them, because I felt like I was like third gen, like the mini one, mini Kara.
Exactly.
Yeah, it was just a pretty surreal experience, I think.
Did Helen Slater give you any advice on playing Supergirl?
I didn't really ask for any advice. I should have done that. I think I was just kind of excited. I was like, oh, like, you're like the original badass. Like, I don't know. I think I was just kind of like, so Helen, how are you? Like, tell me about yourself, your life. Yeah, that was a lot of fun. I mean, I've seen the film, so, I kind of had that in my head as well.
Right. I have lots of questions about glasses and powers. So on Supergirl with the glasses, did you ever was that something that you thought about in terms of when Kara takes the glasses on and off, in terms of the emotion? Is that something that's intentional, or is that written into the script?
I think that every time that I did a superpower, I was like, do it like Melissa. And the way Melissa created Kara is that everything is very intentional. I feel like when she takes her glasses off, it's like with power, with strength, like she's about to perform a power, which I think is awesome. So yeah, I think like with the heat, it's usually with, I'm trying to think, because there's a couple of different powers with the eyes, but it's usually with like heat vision, that she'll take the glasses off. Yeah, so I do think it's always intentional.
And with the powers, what was that like? Did you do a lot of those stunts?
I did. I think the main stunt work is usually in the flying. And so I did get to do some flying. I got to be hooked up to a harness, which was really cool. And I think there were like a couple flying bits where I had a stunt double, because it was a little more involved. But for the most part, I got to do like all the cool powers that you see me do in the episodes. I mean,
you get to bust through walls, and
yes.
At one point you grabbed a lunch table and squeezed it. Well, I'm very curious about like practical effects and things like that. How did that? Was that all visual effects, or did they have something that you were actually squeezing?
There was something I could break, so it was like a part of the table that they had. I forgot what it was. I remember they explained it all to me because it was a couple of years ago. But that was the only time that I did that super strength. Was with the table, but they had something that I had to apply pressure to it still, so it looked real. But it was breakable, which was cool. But I didn't have to make it. I was like, yeah, it made me feel so powerful. I loved it.
That's super strength.
Yeah.
So you were in Midvale in season 3, which I don't know if you are aware, but if you were to pose the question, which episode of Supergirl is your favorite, I'm almost positive every Supergirl fan is going to say Midvale.
It's definitely going to be up there. Yeah,
it's going to be up there. It's a really popular episode. So what was it like coming back to season 6 and revisiting, and I guess you are also revisiting it in season 4 with Red Dawn. You have a little appearance with Olivia as Alex there as well.
Oh, yeah.
With a little super clap, I believe, that sort of knocks out the rocks. So what was it like coming back? You established young Kara and then you came back to it. What was that like?
I was surprised initially because when you do these flashback episodes, you can kind of get called back at any time. And even though I love playing Kara and I was attached to her during Midvale, it had been a year. And so when I came back to it, I did have to Olivia and I rewatched Midvale together, and we were like, what did we do? And we rewatched the show together and we're like, oh, right. And we read lines together and we're like, oh, there it is. Like we've got it. And that was just a little bit I remember in season 4, which was so much fun because it really highlighted Kara and Alex's relationship. So I really enjoyed doing that. But yeah, I think I feel like every time that we've come back, I can say, I think for both Olivia and I, we've fallen right back into it because we usually work together. And it's really helpful because I think that the dynamic we have naturally is parallel to like Alex and Kara's in a lot of ways. So I think just us being together brings that out of us, which is super helpful. Just coming in.
Yeah, it's almost like you all were never apart. It seemed like you just fell back into it.
I was going to say, what was it? Kyler Lee directed your episode, right?
Yes.
What was that like? What was that experience like? Especially for the both of you and Olivia talking to essentially older Alex.
I know, that was really special. It was special because, Kyler had, being on the show and working directly with Melissa and playing older Alex, she gave us pointers, and she'd come up and she'd either affirm us and she'd say, "Oh my gosh, like you're doing such a Kara thing. Like I love it." Or she'd come up and say, "Oh, I think you should stand like this or do this thing, because I think Kara would do that. And we can establish it as her young." And it was just really helpful having her there, because, there's only so much you can observe, like watching the show, but then Kyler works directly with Melissa. And then especially for Olivia, because Olivia is playing Kyler. So I think it was just really special, because there was a kind of connection, I think, to the Danvers sisters with that episode that Kyler had that, other directors might not have, because she's so it's so personal for her.
Yeah, I think that really does help, having someone who's played a version of one of the characters that you all are playing.
That'd be helpful.
That does help help a lot. We do have a question from the chat that I thought was pretty good. Paula asks, what stood out from watching Melissa's Kara? Which thing stood out to you as defining for the character?
That's a great question. I think that Melissa has this like beautiful ability to be really strong, but also be how do you say it? Like she's very strong and she's very powerful, but she also is human, and she's very vulnerable. And I think that that shines through in her performance of Kara, where you're constantly seeing this balance between her being a superhero but having a human heart. And I think playing young version of her, I was trying to play around a lot with that of this young 16-year-old trying to show that she is powerful and she has these powers, but also kind of like a little puppy, have you ever seen like puppy golden retrievers like walk and not quite know how to like use their body because their ears are a little too big? And I feel like that's a little bit like what young Kara is like. She doesn't quite know how to sit into being this superhuman. And I loved just stealing some of that from her and making her younger.
Yeah, I think Melissa has a little bit of that too, even in the adult Kara. So I think you matched that up pretty well. In those 2 episodes from season 6 from this current season, Kenny comes back. There is some time travel shenanigans that happen. So were you surprised by the script? Did it take a lot to sort of think through because it involved a lot of time travel? What did you think about, for example, the return of Kenny, because his death in Midvale was such a big deal? What did you think about that?
Yeah, well, I was shocked when Kenny was like, Kenny's back. I was like, that's exciting. So for Kara. So I read the episodes like 4 or 5 times because I'm a visual person, and reading it, I was very confused. And then I had this giant 5 pages that I just wrote out the timeline, because Kara also time travels.
Right. Yeah, there's a lot of time travel. It's hard to keep track of.
And so I had to write out a time and be like, okay, in these scenes you haven't time traveled yet, and in these scenes you have, and then here you're back. But I got it. It was like a little puzzle. It was kind of fun. Yeah, it was kind of weird to navigate, but seeing it made a lot more sense.
Well, it's funny. I think a lot of our listeners and fans have kind of started pitching on social media, like, what if Midvale was a series? Like, what if this was also its own spin-off show? So if there was ever a Midvale series, what would you want to explore with young Kara?
I would just love to go deeper into kind of what I was saying earlier with like the little puppy trying to navigate its way into adulthood. Like, I think it would just be really fun to see Kara young and a teenager and having all the same like angst and you know, hormones and falling in love for the first time and you know, having all those experiences that like a normal teenage girl would have, but also having these superpowers. And I think it would just be a lot of fun to see her try to navigate her way into adulthood through high school, you know, which, you know, we have like, because we have that with, you know, with Superman's origin story. And so I think it'd be super cool to have that with Supergirl as well.
You might be interested to know that Supergirl in the comics at one point was an actress.
That's right.
She was a soap opera actress. Yeah.
Because there's so many versions of Supergirl too.
Yeah, she was on a soap opera called Secret Hearts, and some fans loved her, some fans didn't. But yeah, she played a character named Margot Hatton. So you have that in common with Supergirl. That you both done some acting. So I guess sort of to kind of wind down the Supergirl stuff. If you were to, because I don't know, do you know how the show is going to end? I guess I should ask that first before I get to
That's a good question.
I don't.
Okay, so that leads me to my next question. If you, because we pitch stories all the time for the show on Supergirl Radio. So if you were given the chance to write Kara's ending, how would you want it to go? What would you want her to end up being by the end of the show?
Oh, that's such a dense question. Oof. A part of me playing young Kara, a part of me would want to give that answer to Melissa because she's spent so long like crafting Kara, you know, for 6 years. But what I will say is that I think throughout the 6 seasons, we've seen Kara in this constant like oscillation of trying to balance her human self and her superhuman self. And I think I would just love to see an ending in which she's finally achieved that, you know, an ending in which like she's sort of in this harmonious place where she is existing both as a human and as a superhuman, but not, you know, it's not like one or the other is overtaking her. And I feel like there's a lot of overwhelm with being Supergirl, you know.
That is a great answer to a very dense question. So
yeah, it is.
I appreciate that. And since you have spent a lot of screen time as Kara Danvers, what does that mean to you to be able to play Supergirl? Because like we mentioned, not a lot of actresses have done it. So what does that mean to you to be part of this Superman family, this super universe, and to be the Girl of Steel?
Oh, it's a dream. Because I have you know, aside from acting, I have a production company that's all about making films for like women to channel their inner badass. And I'm all about female empowerment and strong, real women. And to be able to play a character that's not only so iconic, but that just embodies all the values that I try to live by, is just really special, especially because like you said, it's like this elite group of women that have played Supergirl. And yeah, it's just been really surreal getting to play a character who is a superhero and to be a part of that universe, because I don't think I ever really imagined that for myself. Maybe because it felt kind of out of reach, you know?
Well, I hope I can speak for all fans to say that you did a great job. We're all big fans of young Kara, and we appreciate what you've brought to the Supergirl mythology and the history of the character. So we thank you for your service as young Kara.
Thank you.
Now we have a little game that we call Snap Judgments. We wanted to play with you before we let you go. Yes. So we're gonna show a video that will give you instructions on how to play, and then we'll come back and we'll do some Snap Judgments.
Let's do it.
In the game of Snap Judgments, each person is presented with 2 options, but must only choose one. First instincts are recommended and explanations are unnecessary.
Okay, well, we have a bunch, so feel free to just get in there or give us a little bit of insight into why you picked your choice. But so our first snap judgment is: would you rather be able to do calculus at age 4 like Kara, or remember historical facts like Alex?
Calculus at age 4.
That's a pretty impressive one. I would like to be able to do calculus at any age at all. So I'm going to go with that one too.
I'm actually like kind of a math nerd, so I think it would have been cool to have a head start on that.
Yeah, I think I would choose calculus too. I can do historical facts, but I can't do calculus. So I think I'd rather add the math skills.
Now this one's a really good question. Would you rather go stargazing or solve a murder?
Solve a murder? Absolutely. I am like such a nerd with any, like I took criminology, I took like criminal justice. Like
really?
Yes, I love anything like crime related. Not that I love murder by all means. That sounded really wrong. I just mean that it would be amazing to solve a murder.
It's funny. I'm also like super into true crime in a way. So like when I start to talk to people about stuff, I'm like, oh my God. And then this happened. They're like, why do you seem excited? I'm like, I'm not. I'm normal, I swear.
Right. Like I promise. It's just interesting. It's fascinating to like to learn how people do that, like homicide detectives, and wow.
Yeah, that's crazy. I would obviously also pick solve a murder over stargazing. The stars are going to be there anytime, but I need to solve that murder.
Right. I'm picking stargazing. Solving
Rebecca's
a murder
leaving us to solve this murder by
You're going to have
ourselves.
to do it on your own because that sounds dangerous. I don't want to have any part in it. So I think I'm just going to go out and look at the pretty stars at night. That sounds safe.
That's hilarious. I've been told that at my bridal shower, there's going to be like a murder mystery game involved.
Ooh.
So
I like that.
Obviously, I had no other choice but to pick solve a murder. Okay. Would you rather time travel or punch a meteor?
Ooh, I'd have to say time travel. That would be so cool. Like imagine going back to like whenever. I wouldn't go to the future though.
Oh.
You probably don't want to know about what's going to happen in the future.
But I'd love to see some of what happened in the past. Just like like a fly on the wall. You know?
Is there a time period you would want to go back to?
Yeah, I think I'd want to go back to the 60s and the 70s because I feel like a lot happened.
Yeah, a lot did happen.
Historically, a lot happened in this country, and I just would be curious to kind of be a part of that. Maybe it would make me view where, the time period that I live in now a little differently. Sure. And I think being in I feel like the 60s through the 90s, that's what I'm gonna say. And then maybe just like pop in the 20s for like a second.
Just for the fashion and
like the 50s for a second, just to like be in a diner. I don't know.
Well, if you could time travel once, why couldn't you go to different time periods?
I mean,
we didn't specify. It was just time travel.
No. I would want.
Exactly. It's you pick. I would also do time travel.
I think I would pick time travel because punching a meteorite, though cool, could have unintended consequences.
You don't know what you're going to start. But time travel is definitely going to have unintended consequences.
That's true. Don't meet any famous figures.
Yeah, try to stay out of major historical events.
Right.
Okay, which villain was the worst? Naxum Torque or Sheriff Collins?
Sheriff Collins. Like that was just so disappointing. I remember reading the script and being like, are you kidding me? Like
she's not mad, she's just disappointed in you.
I was just so disappointed. I was like, the sheriff, we're supposed to be, looking up to you. He was supposed to be like, I feel like Naxum is just expected. Like he's just a bad guy. But the sheriff was unexpected, and that was just very disappointing.
Good thoughts.
Yeah, I'm gonna also go the sheriff because I think that was a bigger twist. Like, I didn't see it. I didn't quite see it coming. Where Maxim Torque like came in hot. He was already a villain.
Yeah.
Yeah, Maxim Torque was a ton of fun. He definitely kidnapped some people and was trying to put them into his space zoo, I guess. But Sheriff Collins tried to murder some children, so I feel like that's not children. I mean, teenagers, young people. So that's kind of bad. So I guess I would pick Sheriff Collins.
Okay, our last snap judgment is according to the season 6 episode Prom Again, young Kara has only done laundry one time because Eliza won't let her. But why won't Eliza let her do laundry anymore? Did she shrink all of Eliza's sweaters, or did the washing machine scare Kara, causing her to accidentally set it on fire with her heat vision?
Oh,
we don't know. We're just guessing here. These are just two options
out there.
I think the latter. I think that Kara got scared. I think she got really scared. She didn't know what the drying machine was, and her, because when she gets bouncy, especially when she's young, she would get bouncy, and her like heat vision or something would pop out. I think that's what happened. I think that's absolutely adorable.
Poor Kara.
Poor Kara.
I think she was trying to be really nice and help Eliza out with the laundry, and then all the sweaters turned out to be tiny doll clothes.
And for Eliza's sweaters, that's a big deal because she wears those really awesome long sweaters.
Yeah.
So for her to shrink those, that would be a tragedy.
Just tragic.
I agree about Kara getting scared and accidentally using her heat vision, because I think in season 1 she talks about how she got scared of the popcorn maker. So I think it's possible.
Yes, possible.
Yeah. Eliza was like, no, you've ruined too many of my dryers. We can't do this anymore. All right. Well, we will wrap up Snap Judgments, and we'll let you go from here. So I guess, let's wrap up Snap Judgments. We'll come back, and then we'll wrap up with you and let you go. No judgments on your Snap Judgments. All right. Well, thank you, Bella, for being with us and telling us about your experience as Supergirl and sharing your experience from the set and all of the cool things you're doing. How can our listeners and viewers keep up with you and tell us about any new projects you got going on?
Well, thank you for having me. This has been an honor. I'm on Instagram. I'm on Twitter. I'm on Facebook. Just at Izabela. Yep, there it is. At Izabela Vidovic. Pretty much everything that I'm doing is right there. And I also have I co-run a production company called Almost Normal Productions. And you can find all of what I'm producing and our new film. It's a horror movie. It's called The Accursed. And I'm also starring in it. So that's up and coming this year.
Oh, nice. That sounds fun. I love a good horror movie, especially around spooky season.
Right? Yeah, and that's coming up. So
that's awesome. Well, thank you again. It's been our honor to speak with you, to actually get to talk to you and hear your experience about being the Girl of Steel. And so, like we said before, you've done a great job as an ambassador to the character and for the character. So, thank you for your contribution to the mythology. So, thank you for being with us and giving some of your time to us.
Thank you so much. Thank you, everybody. Mwah!
Oh yeah, thank you.
Yes,
all right.
To meet you.
Well, we'll let you go, and we'll carry on with Supergirl Radio. Thanks.
All right.
All right. Well, we will get to some Supergirl Radio business because we've got some stuff that we need to talk about as well. Let's see. Let's get down into. I guess we've got some news. Yes, we have some news.
We got all kinds of news, I think.
We got some pretty big news as well. So let's get to
the news.
All right, so we have one big bit of big news to discuss for this week. On June 18th, director of the Flash movie, Andy Muschietti, posted a picture to his Instagram account of Sasha Calle's Supergirl and her S shield. So I guess really it was just her S shield. It wasn't really her Supergirl full attire. It was just the S shield that we were given. So that's what this looks like. And Morgan, I'm a little disappointed because I really wish they had done the whole suit. Because because later they shot outside.
They made the mistake of shooting outside, and now I've seen it, but from far away and grainy.
So I'm kind of a little miffed because they usually do this when they're shooting outdoors. They usually reveal the official reveal of the costume so that they can, have them outdoors. It's no big deal. Everybody's already seen it, but they only did the S shield, and so now I'm trying to duck and dodge spoilers all over my timeline. So that's been really difficult. But what do you think about this S shield so far?
So again, it is kind of tough to talk about just the S shield because I have seen a good portion of the grainy pictures from somebody's super zoomed cell phone. So I have some idea of what the full thing looks like, but I think the S shield looks really cool. I think it looks really nice. I like kind of like the depth to it and the colors. I can't say that I'm nuts about the red upper part like extending all the way up, if you know what I mean. Like it kind of, it starts at the top of the shield and then it just kind of is like straight red all the way up. And that I'm not nuts about. I'm kind of more partial to like the Melissa Benoist kind of mostly blue with the S shield sort of standing out from it. The red at the top, like kind of at the top, kind of feels like a little bit too much like contrasty colors to me, but I think the shield itself is very, very cool.
Yeah, the first thing I noticed when I looked at it was the Kryptonian script in the middle. That is something that's borrowed from Henry Cavill's Superman S shield from Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice. It's not there in Man of Steel. They only added the Kryptonian script, which is a Joseph Campbell quote. I forget what the entire quote, but it's something like what is it's something about we will be with all the world, like that's kind of the end of the quote, and so it's a Joseph Campbell quote on his S shield. I don't know what this is on hers. It could be a totally different thing. This Kryptonese is a little more difficult to to figure out. It's not kind of an alphabet, one-to-one character, so it's a little more difficult to decode. But I did try to message the woman who let's see, did I write this down? So I messaged I went a little too nerdy about this, but
there's no such thing. The limit doesn't exist.
I knew about the woman who created the Man of Steel Kryptonian, which is what this is on Sasha's suit, and just to see like if she would respond, because she has her email or a contact form on her website. So I was like, well, might as well take a shot at it. So Dr. Christine Schreier is the woman who created the Kryptonian language in the script for Man of Steel, and asked her if she could tell me what it meant on that shield. And her response to my message was, quote, "Nice to hear from you, and thanks for letting me know this photo was up. It's not the same as the Superman suit, but I can't say more than that. I've retweeted it and tagged some Kryptonian language fans so they might be able to get the words for you." So it sounds like it's not the exact same Joseph Campbell quote as Henry Cavill's suit, but she did point me to some tweets that included, this is the Joseph Campbell quote, and where we thought to find an abomination, we shall find a God. Where we thought we had been, I can't read, it's so small. Where we had thought to be alone, we shall be with all the world. I think it goes left, right. So where we had thought to travel outward, we shall come to the center of our own universe. Where we had thought to be alone, we shall be with all the world. Where we had thought to slay another, we shall slay ourselves. So that's what Henry Cavill's Kryptonian S shield says. But apparently that is not the same thing on Sasha Calle's S shield. So I hope some people figure it out. I hope Andy Muschietti talks about what that means, because I would love to know, because I can't decode it myself. So that would be nice to know about what that is. Also, you mentioned the red part of the suit. Some fans got there before I did, but the first thing I noticed about her S shield was the Kryptonian script. The second thing was the red on the shoulders. And some people got there before me, but Ange noticed pretty quickly that the red shoulders were evocative of the Crisis era costume. So that sort of 1980s era of Supergirl, she has the red collars on top of her costume. You can also see that in Kara, I guess, Kara Kent from Smallville. She has that on in the Smallville season 11 comics. That's part of her suit as well. And then this is what a lot of people are talking about, and I'm trying not to spoil myself on this. So this is just kind of fan speculation. But people are making the connection to Laura Lane Kent from the comics. Laura Lane Kent is the imaginary daughter of Superman and Lois Lane. She first appeared in Injustice: Gods Among Us, year 3, number 7. And so apparently, I haven't read this yet. I'm going to try to dig this up and read it for myself. But according to the interwebs, in one of Superman's dreams, he imagined he hadn't been tricked into accidentally killing Lois Lane by the Joker, and that Batman would kill the Joker instead. And with no one left to harm Lois, she would have the baby girl, and she would grow up to be Supergirl. So that's kind of the essence of the Injustice story, is that Joker tricks Superman into killing Lois Lane, who was pregnant at the time. And so Lois and the baby die. So in this dream, the baby survives, and she becomes Supergirl. So this does look a lot like Sasha Caille's haircut, and it does have the red on the shoulders there. So I don't know, Morgan, what do you think about these various options?
So I will say that photo does look a lot like the haircut that she just got. So I am suspicious that the red shoulders also kind of connect. So now I'm like, maybe. I will say I like this a lot less as a fan of Kara, our Supergirl, that like we'd be getting Supergirl, but it wouldn't be our Supergirl. It wouldn't be Kara Danvers. It would be this sort of alternate Supergirl. So, I mean, I would rather it be Kara, definitely, but I can 100% see why this is a popular speculation. I think it makes a lot of sense as far as just from like a costuming and like hair and makeup perspective.
Yeah, she definitely looks like that version, and especially now that we've seen the S shield or the top of the suit, it does look a lot like that. And then you add into the Henry Cavill Kryptonian script, that could be the case. And then if you wanted to reach into Zack Snyder's Justice League, where Lois is pregnant, I don't think they would tie that into it, because I think Warner Brothers considers the Joss Whedon version of Justice League to be canon, which why would you do that? But so I don't know if they can make that work. I also think it's possible that the Crisis thing could be coming into play here, because that could be because it's the Flash movie, and if he does any kind of Flashpoint time travel-y something or other, you could justify having the Crisis suit. So I'm not ruling out any possibilities. So it's interesting for sure, because it's definitely a different take on what we've seen in live action. I also, if it's Laura Lane Kent, I might be a little disappointed that it's not Kara Zor-El, just because I think there's a really easy way to do it in that universe, that DC Films universe. But I can see why they wouldn't do that, because they seem so bent on separating themselves from anything that Zack Snyder did. And so it almost makes sense from their perspective. Let's just do a totally brand new Supergirl so that we don't have to connect it to Henry Cavill, even though they've already done through the suit. So I don't know. I think Warner Brothers is maybe potentially run by evil human beings. So I am not putting I'm not putting any I don't have hopes that they're going to connect, I guess is the best thing to say, that they're going to connect it to Henry Cavill.
To keep your expectations sort of in check, especially with stuff like this, where we're getting very little information, and we're just kind of having to go off of set pictures that are blurry from far away, and like a zoomed in picture of an S shield. That's all. It's hard to kind of figure out what they're going to do. But I'm excited about Sasha. If she is playing this different version of Supergirl, I'm less excited about the Supergirl, but I guess we'll just have to wait and see.
I should clarify that I don't think everybody at Warner Brothers is evil, just some of the executives in charge of the films. That's maybe
the disclaimer.
I should
listen, Rebecca, we got to get that HBO Max money. You got to play nice.
I got to be nice with them. So I just want to clarify that. Yeah, so that's going to be really interesting. But I don't know, Morgan, how you feel about this, because you're more open to spoilers than I am. But since this has happened on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, if I know everybody's really excited about a new Supergirl, and I'm excited about, one of my Young and the Restless actresses being I'm so excited about seeing somebody from Genoa City in the S-Shield. But if you can, please do not send Supergirl Radio any spoilers, because it is very tempting for me not to look at it. And I would personally rather not be spoiled. I know Morgan is maybe less rigid about it.
I'm a little bit more relaxed, especially with like movie spoilers. I'm just like kind of like, by the time the movie comes out, I will have forgotten that. My memory is like Alex's after they wiped her memory. It's just Swiss cheese. I'm not gonna remember it by the time the movie comes out. So
if you want to get excited and talk to somebody about the shooting footage or what they're doing now with Sasha's Supergirl, send a message to Morgan.
You can tweet me at Mojotastic, but don't tweet at Supergirl Radio, because then Rebecca sees it and then she's like bummed because she got spoiled.
I want to go in with and this is totally unrealistic because I'm probably going to get spoiled anyway. but I want to go in with a pure experience. I want my first like real sighting of her suit to be like an official trailer or an official image or something like that, which is why I wish that
more exciting than those blurry photos from Andy sent me one and was like, I know you don't mind about spoilers, like look at this. And I was like, what am I looking at? Just a blue blur?
Yeah. So, and it's also kind of unfair to judge something that's blurry. And
well, that was my thing. Yeah. I was like, I don't think I like the costume all that much, but I can't even really see it. Like, are those? I was like squinting. I was like, are those pants? I can't. Who knows?
So if you do get excited about it and you want to share that excitement, share it with Morgan and not the official Supergirl Radio accounts, because if I see it, I'm going to click on it. I can't help myself. But it's getting more difficult with the timeline. I'm having to mute people and unfollow people. Just for the time in which, now until we get a trailer, I'm going to have to like unsubscribe from YouTube channels. And it is so hard to avoid.
Just try to hide for a while.
Just put myself in a bubble and like go into Twitter less. It's so hard. Now that I know there are spoilers out there, I'm trying to protect myself. So that is kind of the big news that we had Supergirl related this week, because we are getting a new Supergirl.
I don't know, Rebecca. I think we have another really big piece of news for Supergirl. Six Flags related.
Okay, so I'm glad you mentioned this because this
arguably even bigger news than what we just talked about.
Okay, so there was a new Supergirl ride that came out. I think there was already a Supergirl Sky Flyer in Six Flags St. Louis. But there's now a new Supergirl Sky Flyer. Sky Flyer.
It's tough to say.
At Six Flags New England. That's the one that just came out. So it is a ride that looks like this. Morgan, do you think you would hop on the Supergirl Sky Flyer?
No. My answer to that is no. Like a resounding no. Like I've never questioned anything less than whether or not I would get on this thing. The answer is no. It is a giant Ferris wheel, but you are in a little seat attached to the end of the Ferris wheel, but your legs are just in the air. Your legs are just flying, having the full experience. But then so I'm not I'm not opposed to what's happening on the bottom here. Like, I'm not opposed to being in a little seat and my feet are kind of like flippy floppy and like it's fine. But once I start going around the side, like once my body is perpendicular to the ground, like that's when I'm going to start having an issue. And then once we get to the top and I'm like upside down and my feet are just sort of flopping in the air, that's when I'll lose it. That's when I'll lose my cool.
Okay.
So here we go.
So we're riding on the Sky Flyer now.
So we're up. Oh my God. Honestly, watching this makes me nervous, but also it doesn't seem as bad as it looks in the photo. I must say.
But you kind of are going upside down.
You definitely are going upside down. Like, here's the thing. If I have to have an upside down ride experience, like I want to be indoors. Like I don't want to see actual scenery of like the outside world whizzing by me, because then it becomes too real. Then the risk becomes too much for me. Then I'm like, oh my God, that's a tree. Like it's real what's happening to me.
I mean, it does look like a swing. I don't know if you've ever been on swings at an amusement park. I love swings, so I could probably do that. But
see this aspect where you're just kind of you're close to the ground, and I understand that this is when it's ending, and like this is what I would be into. Like if it was just the end of the ride and there was no aspect where you go up and over and like you're upside down, but you were just kind of like chilling at like sort of mid height. Yeah, I could see that. It's when you go upside down is when you lose me. It's when the flying starts is when I stop.
Yeah, I can do roller coasters, although in my old age, I think I'm like over it now. But I could probably do a roller coaster, but just a continual going upside down. I don't know. I would have to really study it. It looks like we lost Morgan for a second. We'll see if she pops back up because I really want her to see. I pulled a video of a news reporter who went to go report on the opening of this ride. And I want you to see the reporter's take on this ride, because I think it will either answer some questions for you or it will terrify you. I don't know which. Oh, no. But let's take a look at this and just talk about it as we go through, because I think there's a lot of things to say about this video. So let me get this set up and ready to go.
I'm liking it just based on the screenshot.
Okay. All right. So let's see what happens to our friend Margot here. So I love Molly. Pay attention to Molly behind her.
Wow. Okay. Still going.
Look at Molly's like, yeah, I'm having a good time.
Molly's loving it. Molly has no issue at all.
Just upside down in a circle, round and round we go.
Margot is not having a good time.
There's the G-forces.
So they're talking about G-force.
There's the G-forces.
She's eating on the ride.
What?
Yeah, Jim, you challenged me to 6 churros. That's absolutely not happening. I eat a giant donut. Oh no.
She goes, did you hear the reporter go, oh no.
5 miles an hour, which like doesn't sound like that much, but when you're upside down, about 7 floors up in the sky at an 80 degrees.
Ooh, 7 floors.
It really is something different. And there goes that donut. Okay. There's no way I was doing 6 churros. Oh my God.
It is a mistake to eat on a ride like that.
Yeah. Meanwhile, Molly is having a experience.
Molly is bold. She's like sticking her arms out. She's having a good time. Look at Molly.
Molly's unbothered.
There's this thing called G-force that I've been learning about this morning. It's 2.9, which is high. It sounds like a low number. It's not. It's about what the weight feels like when it pushes you. Literally, it will just yank your mouth right open or shove you back against the ride like this. And so we're like at 80 degrees, which is obviously very, very, very close to directly upside down.
She's able to talk while on this ride.
Yeah.
Though. That's a good sign, I think.
Or squeeze or do anything. My feet are flying beneath me. There's just a lot going on, folks. There's a lot happening here.
How many times have they made this poor woman go on?
I don't know. Margot is a champ.
Margot was kind of like that. She's just speaking, and then all of a sudden the ride hits her, and she's like, and it feels really good.
Good for Margot. What a champ. She went on that
What
ride.
happened to Molly?
Molly peaced out. She's like, I'm over this. But yeah, so
that is hilarious.
So
yeah, no, that looked deeply unpleasant to me. And as she's talking about G-force and like being
base camp stuff with like astronauts train on it. And speaking of which, you're a Disney World fan like me.
I am. Yeah.
You've done Mission Space, right?
So I have a fun story about Mission Space, which is that I went there to Disney World in high school with some friends and their family, and we to get onto the ride because the line was so long, we did single rider. So we all get split up. We all go onto our teams of like different people. So I end up with this family, and in Mission Space, they give you all like roles to do. They're like, okay, you're doing this and you're doing that, and like you're navigating. And I was like, I'm navigating? And so I'm standing there and I'm really stressed out, and they keep on telling you, they're like, okay, you're going to experience a lot of like different forces, and it's going to feel like you're in space.
And just to clarify, did you do like the easy one, or did you do, because they have two different versions?
See, at the time, this is high school for me, so this is a while ago, so I don't know that they had the two different versions. So I think they just had one version. It was
just a regular.
intense. There were a million signs that were like, don't go on this if you've ever experienced anything in your life. And I was like, what? And so I'm getting there, and they're and it I think it got to when the video was like, and make whatever you do, don't look away from the screen, you might puke. And I was like, you know what? I don't need to do this that much. So I turned to the family and I went, guys, I don't think I can do this. And they were like, get out of here, go. And I was like, I'm sorry. And then I ran, I ran to an attendant, and I was like, I don't want to do it. And they like took me out. So I definitely doomed that family to die. And I've carried that for many years. I've carried that. I was the navigator. They never got wherever they needed to go.
No,
I was in charge of some essential function on that on that ship that did not get done, and I don't think that they made it, but God bless them for being like, yeah, you should probably go if you don't want to go. I was like, bye.
Yeah, I went with a friend one time, and we were like, whatever, this isn't going to be that bad. And they did have the two like levels where like one was a little like, you're gonna die, and so we chose the you're gonna die level because we're like, that's not gonna be that bad. It can't be that bad. It's a Disney World ride. It can't be that bad. So we get in there, and there's some real something that's happening while you're on that ride, some sort of G-force something or other. And I was like,
yeah,
oh my gosh, this is way worse than I thought it was gonna be. I made it through. I didn't have to like, what's a pleasant way to say throw up? I didn't have to. I wasn't nauseous.
The bags that they gave you. Yeah, when they started talking about like there will be a bag in the front pocket of your seat, I was like, wait, people throw up on this ride? Why would I want to do that?
I didn't have any of that kind of trouble, but it was more than I thought it was going to be. I highly underestimated.
Yeah, that G-force doesn't seem like it doesn't seem like it's something to play around with. It doesn't.
It is pretty. I mean, astronauts train for that. We were just like, whatever. We're just like going between Space Mountain and whatever's next. So that's not.
Yeah,
you should be training for that.
Like you and I and Margot, we weren't prepared for that.
Margot, that is like, I know she was doing it to challenge herself by eating that donut. But
that is a bad idea.
That is like number one mistake before you go on a roller coaster is you do not eat things. I've this is gross, but I've been to Six Flags over Georgia where I've seen people come back in. So they have a ride called the Goliath, which is this thing where it like goes up. It's a roller coaster, and the highest it goes is 200 feet. I think it's pretty high. And when people come back, I've seen people like throw up on the re-entry into the thing. And it's like, oh, come on, guys. We're all in line here. Why could you not hold it till you like went to the restroom or something? So it happens on those rides. So good on Margot. She really challenged herself. She kept it together. But yeah, that did not make me really want to go on that ride. But maybe one day I'll get out to one of those locations and try it just to say I did it once.
I tried to see if they had it in the one in New Jersey. Not that I would get on it in any way, but they don't. It's not at my local Six Flags, so I can't do it.
Yeah, they don't have one at Six Flags Over Georgia, which is the closest one to me either. But I think that's cool. Supergirl is getting her own ride. I'm glad to see she's getting that same kind of respect because they have Superman rides, they have Batman rides, they have Riddler rides. I'm trying to think. I think somewhere I saw there was a Catwoman ride. So, it's good to see that she is among those big names that get their own roller coaster.
I know. She deserves her own roller coaster, her own terrifying, kind of nauseating roller coaster.
So maybe one of these, maybe one day I'll just go to the park and just take pictures of the outside. Maybe I don't actually get on the ride. I just like take pictures.
I mean, Rebecca, it could be a Patreon exclusive. you get your camera set up like Margot there, and then you try to podcast from the ride.
We'll set up a live stream. You can be on the other end.
I'm like, how does it feel? You're like, just a lot of screaming. Nothing makes better podcast than just screaming and wind.
You laugh, but we might do that sometime in the future. We'll see if we can make that work. All right. So, was there anything else we needed to talk about the with the Supergirl Sky Flyer?
I think that was most of the news, right?
I think it was. Those were the big things. The terrifying ride with the G-Force and the Sasha Calle Supergirl S-Shield. So glad we got to talk about those things. And so I guess, let's see. I think we should maybe get to some plugs and we'll be back to wrap up the live stream if I can remember which. Okay. So we'll get to the plug and we'll be right back. If you would like to contact Supergirl Radio, you can post a comment on our website at supergirlradio.com. You can email us at supergirlradio@gmail.com. If you'd like to leave us a voicemail, you can call us at 678-718-7252. You can like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter and Instagram, all at Supergirl Radio. You can listen to us on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, Google Podcasts, Radio Public, Podchaser, and Spotify, where we also have a Spotify playlist that includes music featured on and inspired by the CW Supergirl TV series. We are listed on DC's fan page, which you can find at dccomics.com/DC-fans. If you like what we do, we encourage you to give us a rating and write us a review on Apple Podcasts. If you enjoy our Supergirl Radio live streams, make sure to subscribe to the DC TV Podcast YouTube channel and hit that notification bell to get notified when we go live and wired. DC TV Podcast also has a TeePublic store, so if you're in need of new DC TV related t-shirts, tank tops, sweatshirts, onesies, mugs, notebooks, pillows, or stickers, go to supergirlradio.com and click on the TeePublic store link at the top of the page.
Supergirl Radio is part of the DC TV Podcast Network, so if you also like The Flash, Legends of Tomorrow, Black Lightning, Titans, Doom Patrol, Batwoman, Stargirl, Superman and Lois, and the upcoming Green Lantern, Justice League Dark, and Strange Adventure shows, and DC TV After Dark, you can subscribe to the DC TV Podcast Mega Feed on Apple Podcasts. Follow at DC TV Podcast on Twitter, and like DC TV Podcasts on Facebook, or else. This has been a message from Hope, inhabiting the Flash Vessel, also known as New Rachel.
And since we talked to and about a young Kara on this episode of Supergirl Radio, we have some young Danvers designs in the T Public store. If you want to check it out, there's a Danvers and Danvers Detective Agency design by Sarah Luber, aka Comic Girl, in there. If you want something to show your love for Midvale, you can find that in the DCTV Podcasts T Public store. And we would also like to thank our Legion of Super Sponsors for supporting the Supergirl Radio Patreon. These people are Michael, Sam, Anne-Marie, Grout, Yvonne, Quinn, Jessica, Nicola, Leslie, Abby, Erngard, Miriam, Cherie, Donna, Nicole, Lizeth, Deb, Susan, Naomi, and V. Brewster. If you would like to become one of our super sponsors, you can go to patreon.com/Supergirl Radio. We have 4 different monthly levels there that will give you different rewards. And recently I did a little sort of behind the scenes overview tutorial of StreamYard, which is the web tool that we use for Supergirl Radio live and wired streams that we love and use a lot. And I think we also need to do our quarterly review coming up before the end of the month. So
I think so. Yeah, we need coming up.
We need to decide what we're going to watch.
Q2 review.
I like that.
You will.
The Q2 review. I think we'll have to get there by the end of the month. So be on the lookout for that if you are one of our monthly members and Supergirl Radio Patreon supporters. And Morgan, you want to tell people about flat Supergirl?
Oh, I sure do. As a reminder, we're still running our Flat Supergirl photography contest. That's actually running until the end of Supergirl, which could be at some point this year, probably, question mark. So if you want to enter, given that you have so much time, you can download and print the Flat Supergirl image, which you can find in the video description of this live stream, in the show notes of the audio podcast, or at the right-hand side of supergirlradio.com. Then you just cut out Flat Supergirl, then you just attach her with some tape or some glue to a popsicle stick, a pen or a pencil, and then you and Flat Supergirl, you go out into the world. You go out into the world and you experience life, and you have an adventure that you can talk to your grandkids about. But make sure, and don't forget this is key, to take a picture with Flat Supergirl so that we can share it. So you want to take a picture. It could be a selfie. It could be Flat Supergirl out in the wild. Who knows where Flat Supergirl could show up next. But once you take that picture, we want you to post it and tag at Supergirl Radio on Twitter, Instagram, or Facebook. And don't forget to use the hashtag Supergirl Adventures.
What if you did just take Flat Supergirl with you on an adventure, and you were
what if you, yeah,
I'm just taking her. We're not going to take a picture. we're just going on an adventure.
Flat Supergirl and I, we're just going out on the town. And then you get home, you and Flat Supergirl kind of over your shoulder. Flat Supergirl maybe had a couple too many. You get home, you're like, did I forget to take a picture?
I mean, you could do that if you really want to, but we would prefer to see a picture.
You could. We want to see that picture, though. We want to know. We want to know what you guys are up to.
Because we will be picking our favorite picture by the end of the show's run, and we'll send you some cool stuff. So use that as motivation for your most creative picture with Flat Supergirl. All right. Well, if you want to follow me, you can follow me on Instagram at the Derby Kid. If you want to see some pictures I take, I need to take Flat Supergirl out. I need to go and do some things with her and see what we get into. So if you want to also follow me on my YouTube channel, because I have a personal YouTube channel at youtube.com/duckmilkprod. I'm doing a weekly live stream series over there where I'm reading through the reviews, the negative reviews from Rotten Tomatoes' top critics of Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice. So I think things are going pretty well. I ate popcorn on the live stream last week because
fun.
because the reviewer called the reader a popcorn chewing sucker. So I feel I thought.
But how was the popcorn? Did you feel like a sucker, or did you feel like somebody who was enjoying some popcorn?
I felt like I was enjoying some popcorn, but then I needed to drink some water because I was like, oh, this popcorn. I feel like I've gotten a lot of salt and butter in my system now, so I had to clear it out with some water. But I think it was a nice reward to eat some popcorn. So I felt like I owed that to the review to eat some popcorn. So I'll be doing another review this Sunday at 4 p.m. Eastern. So if you would like to join me, it's just a little examination of art criticism and what the reviews are actually doing. Because a lot of people, I think, just see the Rotten Tomatoes percentage number and then they don't actually read the review. So if you actually read through them, it's it's quite interesting. So if you would like to join me for that, feel free to subscribe to Duck Milk Prod and join me on Sundays.
That sounds fun. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram. I'm at Mojotastic. You can also find me as a co-host on DC TV After Dark, as well as the Legends of Tomorrow podcast, where we are talking about Legends of Tomorrow. Shocking. It's back. I'm still not used to the show being back on. It's been on for like 7 weeks, and I'm still like, oh my God, there's a TV show we have to talk about. This season, we're trying to really like give you some great historical facts. I think that's probably my pitch to you. Like, if you want to know about history, if you want to know some fun facts about stuff that the legends encounter, listen to the Legends of Tomorrow podcast, because we're going to give you very little of that, but just enough so that you have like maybe one fun fact at like a dinner party. You're like, you're talking to somebody. Did you know that Amelia Earhart had a navigator named Frank? And they're like, that is fascinating. I'd like to know more. And you're like, that's all I've got.
that's all that's in my head.
We give you little fun facts with very little history behind them. And that's our guarantee to you.
You just give enough to get you started.
Just enough. We recorded last night, and we had some of us had good intentions, me presumably, to rewatch Back to the Future. Because the name of the episode was like Back to the Finale, but none of us rewatched Back to the Future. And so what happened was that Kat described the movie as a person who hasn't seen it in many, many years. So if you want to know, if maybe it's been a long time since you've seen Back to the Future, maybe you've never seen Back to the Future, and you just kind of want to know what it's about, like a summary that's probably wrong, this is the podcast for you.
I mean, I think you should watch the films because they're excellent, but
great films.
But I think it would be interesting to hear what someone thought was important about those films when describing them.
Like what stuck with you when you haven't seen it in many years, and you're just like, what that movie was about? He was back, but he was in the past, but he was from the future. There was a DeLorean. Those doors open straight up.
True.
Yeah. So fun times. So you should definitely check out the Legends of Tomorrow podcast. It helps if you watch the show. It definitely does. But you don't have to.
You don't have to.
That's the thing. You don't have to.
It's optional.
It's optional.
It's definitely something that you can do without having to watch the show. I think that's perfectly fine if you don't.
Much the way we don't do our homework on that show. You don't actually have to watch the show at all.
Homework is also optional, so
it always is.
Whatever you feel like on the day. That's awesome. Well, I'm looking forward to new episodes of the Legends of Tomorrow podcast, because I listen to the podcast, but I don't watch the show, so it is doable. I do believe that it can be done. All right. Well, I think that's going to do it for this episode of Supergirl Radio. But until next time, I'm still Rebecca Johnson.
And I'm still Morgan Glennon. And we hope that one day we can be as cool of a hero as Kara Danvers.
I think the CW are just trying to win the time slot war with Supergirl Radio.
Supergirl Radio is going live every night of the week. How do you like it? Is becoming a human burrito a plus or a minus? I don't know. It does seem snug.
I mean, they say you are what you eat.
Oh no.
Yeah.
So I do a podcast called Supergirl Radio, and one of our segments is Lena Luthor, Boardroom or Ballroom. Because
she looks like a boss in this coat.
Is Nasty Luthor like a different Luthor? It's not just Lena being mean?
No.
Helen Slater here. It's so fun to know that you're hosting a podcast called Supergirl Radio.